Roman law granted masters near absolute authority. Aging women continued the same labor despite failing bodies. Kitchen workers hauled water and tended fires with aching joints and dimming sight. Textile workers whose fingers stiffened or vision blurred were punished for slowing down. Field laborers were expected to match the output of the young. Failure brought flogging. Repeated punishment brought branding. Cato deliberately fostered division among enslaved women, believing unity invited rebellion. He charged fees for sexual access between enslaved men and women, monetizing even intimacy. After dinner parties, he ordered the flogging of slaves for minor lapses in service, regardless of age or decades of loyalty. For women who collapsed from exhaustion, abandonment followed. For those who spoke of suffering, punishment for ingratitude. Freedom offered little hope. Manumission functioned as a tool of control, encouraging obedience through distant possibility. But for aging women, the economics worked against them. Masters often demanded slaves purchase their freedom, a near impossibility for those with limited earning potential. Few would loan money to a woman whose labor was nearly spent. Augustus's laws allowed some women to earn freedom by bearing children, but this offered nothing to those past childbearing age, including women who had spent their youth producing.
Yes, a guard replies, condemned for poisoning for husband. Execution scheduled for the Ludi Romani. 7 days. The gladiator studies her like merchandise. I'm Magnus, he says finally. They call me the Destroyer, and for the next 7 days, you belong to me. She asks his name again, not begging, not crying. The question surprises him. Condemned prisoners don't ask questions. What you're about to hear is the part of Roman history most sources avoid. The games were remembered as sport, spectacle, engineering marvel. But beneath every arena existed a second city, one designed not for crowds, but for control. The hypogeum was a maze of tunnels, cages, storage rooms, and cells. Animals waited there. Prisoners waited there, equipment for executions waited there, and condemned people didn't just wait for death. They were property.
Roman law considered them already dead. What happened before execution didn't matter, especially for women. Elite gladiators were rewarded not only with food and comfort, but access. Not officially written, never debated, simply understood. Magnus was one of those men. But when he brings Claudia to his private quarters, something unexpected happens. He pours her wine. He talks. He listens. She tells him she didn't kill her husband, that the trial was rushed, that her brother-in-law benefited most from the death, that judges were bribed, that the verdict was decided before the hearing began. It doesn't change anything, Magnus says. You're still condemned. No, she answers, but it changes how you treat me. She gambles everything on one belief, that the man in front of her is more than what the arena made him. And for the first time in 15 years, Magnus chooses differently. She sleeps on a separate pallet. He does not touch her. Not because the system forbids it, but because he decides not to. Over the next days, Claudia learns the truth of the hypogeum. At night, she hears what usually happens, sounds no historian recorded, proof that mercy here is rare and temporary.
Magnus explains the hierarchy. Champions have power. Administrators tolerate what benefits them. Condemned women fill the gaps no one wants to manage. But Magnus also reveals something else. The editor of the games, Publius Commodus, has promised Rome a spectacular execution, a senator's daughter destroyed publicly. And Commodus has enemies. One rival, Sextus Aurelius Marcellus, wants the games to fail. He's offered Magnus freedom in exchange for sabotage. Magnus hesitates. Freedom bought from politicians is fragile. Claudia offers something stronger. If I survive, my father becomes your protection. A senator's debt, political leverage, consequences for betrayal. For the first time, her survival has value. A plan forms. She spends days hidden in Magnus's quarters.
History doesn't record what happened next in detail. But we know this. The Ludi Romani of that year were disrupted, not by the planned sabotage, but by something else. Claudia Severina survived. Weeks later, she reappeared in Rome with her father. Documents surfaced, investigations followed. Gaius Petronius was convicted of multiple crimes. Her execution was never carried out. And Magnus the Destroyer fought his final battle that same day. During Claudia's transfer at dawn, an explosion rocked the hypogeum. Guards ran, cells opened. Magnus fought despite his injuries. Someone had weakened Claudia's lock during the night. She ran. Through tunnels she barely knew, through chaos no one controlled. A service gate stood open. A man waited. Senator's daughter? Yes. Marcellus sends his regards. She escaped into daylight. Magnus took a different route. Rome recorded the games. It recorded the deaths. It recorded the spectacle. What it didn't record were the women beneath the sand, used, erased, and forgotten. Claudia Severina survived not because Rome was merciful, but because she learned how its cruelty functioned. And because one man, shaped by violence, chose once to resist it. The arena took almost everyone. Almost